Erwin Schrödinger was a famous scientist from Austria. He was born in 1887 in a city called Vienna. He loved science from a young age. When he was older, he studied physics, which is the science that explains how everything in the world works. Schrödinger was very smart, and became one of the most important scientists in the world. Schrödinger worked at many universities during his life. He worked in Germany, Switzerland, and England. He spent a lot of time studying how very small things, like atoms and particles, behave. At that time, many scientists were trying to understand the strange world of tiny things, and Schrödinger was one of them. At the beginning of the 20th century, science was changing a lot. People had discovered new things about atoms, but they didn't know everything yet. They were learning that atoms were not like the small balls they once thought they were. Instead, atoms were made of even smaller parts, like electrons, protons, and neutrons. Scientists began to study how these tiny things worked and how they were connected. In 1925, Schrödinger became very interested in a theory called quantum mechanics. This theory was about the behavior of very small particles. Before Schrödinger, many scientists were confused about how these particles moved and interacted. They couldn't explain it with the ideas they already had. But Schrödinger came up with a new way to look at it. He used math to describe how particles moved. His work helped scientists understand the world of tiny particles much better. Schrödinger's most famous idea is called the Schrödinger equation. This equation helps scientists predict the behavior of tiny particles. The Schrödinger equation is very important in quantum mechanics, and it is still used by scientists today. The equation shows how the probability of finding a particle in a certain place changes over time. This means that instead of being in just one place, a particle can be in many places at once, but we can only say where it is likely to be. Schrödinger also had an important idea about how to understand the strange world of quantum mechanics. He thought about a thought experiment called Schrödinger's cat. In this experiment, there is a cat inside a box. The cat's life depends on whether a tiny particle decays or not. If the particle decays, it will release a poison that kills the cat. If the particle does not decay, the cat is alive. Schrödinger said that, according to quantum mechanics, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. This is because the tiny particle inside the box can be in two states at once. This idea of being in two states at once is very strange and hard to understand. But Schrödinger wanted to show how strange the world of quantum mechanics can be. The cat in the box is not real. It is just an idea to explain a difficult concept. Schrödinger's cat became very famous and is still talked about today when people study quantum mechanics. Schrödinger's work was very important because it helped explain many things that were happening in the world of tiny particles. Before Schrödinger, people didn't understand very well how atoms and electrons behaved. But his work made it easier to understand. He helped scientists find new ways to study atoms and their parts, which led to many new discoveries in science. In the 1920s and 1930s, Schrödinger became very famous for his work in quantum mechanics. He won many awards and worked with many important scientists. People began to realize that his ideas were changing the way they thought about the world. Schrödinger did not stop working. He kept studying and teaching for many years. Schrödinger also worked on other problems in science. He looked at the idea of wave-particle duality. This is the idea that particles can act like waves. In other words, sometimes particles can act like little balls, and other times they can act like waves of energy. Schrödinger used his math to show that particles like electrons could behave like waves in some situations. This idea was important because it helped explain many things about how atoms and light work. Schrödinger spent a lot of his life teaching at universities. He loved to share his knowledge with students. He believed that science was not only about finding answers, but also about asking good questions. Schrödinger's students admired him because he was kind and always willing to help. Many of his students later became important scientists themselves. Even though Schrödinger is best known for his work in quantum mechanics, he also worked on other topics. He studied biology, chemistry, and even philosophy. He was interested in how science could explain life and the universe. Schrödinger believed that science could help people understand the world in a deep and meaningful way. He thought that scientists had the responsibility to use their knowledge for the good of everyone. Schrödinger's work in science helped change the way people think about the world. He helped build a bridge between the world of very small things and the world we see around us every day. His ideas were not easy to understand, but they were very important. Today, scientists still use his work to study atoms, light, and many other things. His ideas help scientists see that the world is not always what it seems. Things can be both in one state and another, and understanding this is key to understanding the universe. Schrödinger died in 1961 at the age of 73. Even though he is no longer alive, his ideas continue to shape the world of science. His work in quantum mechanics opened the door to many new discoveries. Scientists still remember him as one of the greatest minds in the history of science. In the end, Erwin Schrödinger's story is one of discovery and wonder. He helped scientists understand the strange world of atoms and particles. He showed that the world is not always what it seems and that sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest impact. Even though his ideas were difficult, they changed the way people think about science and the universe. Schrödinger's work will continue to inspire scientists for many years to come.